हरिनाम संकीर्तन की जय, श्रीला प्रभुपाद की जय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। Reading from Shrimadbhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 12, Text 24. Sarvasadguna Mahatmaye Esha Krishnam Manuvratah Ranti Deva Ivodaro Yayate Rivadharmikaha Sarvasadguna Mahatmaye Esha Krishnam Manuvratah Ranti Deva Ivodaro Yayate Rivadharmikaha Sarvasadguna Mahatmaye Esha Krishnam Manuvratah Ranti Deva Ivodaro Yayate Rivadharmikaha Sarvasadguna Mahatmaye Esha Krishnam Manuvratah Ranti Deva Ivodaro Yayate Rivadharmikaha Sarvasadguna Mahatmaye Esha Krishnam Manuvratah Ranti Deva Ivodaro Yayate Rivadharmikaha Sarvasadguna Mahatmaye, glorified by all godly attributes. Esha, this child, Krishna, like Lord Krishna, Anuvrataha, a follower in his footsteps, Ranti Deva, Iva, like Udaraha, in the matter of magnanimity, Yayati, Iva, like Dharmikaha, concerning religion. Translation: this child will be almost as good as Lord Krishna by following in his footsteps. In magnanimity, he will become as great as King Rantideva, and in religion, he will be like Maharaj Yayati. Purport by His Divine Grace, Abhay Charanarinda Bhaktivedanta Swami, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. The last instruction of Lord Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita is that one should give up everything and should follow in the footsteps of the Lord alone. Less intelligent persons do not agree to this great instruction of the Lord, as ill luck would have it. But one who is actually intelligent catches up this sublime instruction and is immensely benefited. Foolish people do not know that association is the cause of acquiring qualities. Association with fire makes an object hot, even in the material sense. Therefore, association with the Supreme Personality of Godhead makes one qualified like the Lord. As we have discussed previously, one can achieve 78% of the godly qualities by the Lord's intimate association. To follow the instructions of the Lord is to associate with the Lord. The Lord is not a material object whose presence one has to feel for such association. The Lord is present everywhere and at all times. It is quite possible to have His association simply by following His instruction, because the Lord and His instruction and the Lord and His name, fame, attributes, and paraphernalia are all identical with Him, being absolute knowledge. Maharaj Parikshit associated with the Lord even from the womb of his mother up to the last day of his valuable life, and thus he acquired all the essential good qualities of the Lord in all perfection. Rantideva, an ancient king prior to the Mahabharata period, referred to by Narada Muni while instructed Sanjaya, as mentioned in Mahabharata Drona Parva 67. He was a great king, liberal for hospitality and distribution of foodstuffs. Even Lord Sri Krishna praised his acts of charity and hospitality. He was blessed by the great Vasishta Muni for supplying him cold water, and thus he achieved the heavenly planet. He used to supply fruits, roots, and leaves to the rishis, and thus he was blessed by them with fulfillment of his desires. Although a Kshatriya by birth, he never ate flesh in his life. He was especially hospitable to Vasishta Muni, and by his blessings only, he attained the higher planetary residence. He is one of those pious kings whose names are remembered in the morning and evening. Yayati, the great emperor of the world and the original forefather of all great nations of the world, who belongs to the Aryan and Indo-European stock. He is the son of Maharaj Nahusha, and he became the emperor of the world due to his elder brothers becoming a great and liberated saintly mystic. He ruled over the world for several thousands of years and performed many sacrifices and pious activities recorded in history. Although his early youth was very lustful and full of romantic stories. He fell in love with Devayani, the most beloved daughter of Shukracharya. Devayani wished to marry him, but at first he refused to accept her because of her being a daughter of a Brahmin. According to Shastra, a Brahmin could marry the daughter of a Brahmin. They were very much cautious about Varna Shankara population in the world. Shukracharya amended this law of forbidden marriage and induced Emperor Yayati to accept Devayani. Devayani had a girlfriend named Shrimadbhagavatam who also fell in love with the emperor and thus went with her friend Devayani. Shukracharya forbade Emperor Yayati to call Shrimadbhagavatam into his bedroom, but Yayati could not strictly follow his instruction. He secretly married Shrimadbhagavatam also and begot sons by her. When this was known by Devayani, she went to her father and complained and lodged a complaint. Yayati was much attached to Devayani, and when he went to his father-in-law's place to call her, Shukracharya was angry with him and cursed him to become impotent. Yayati begged his father-in-law to withdraw his curse, but the sage asked Yayati to ask youthfulness from his sons and let them become old as the condition of his becoming potent. He had 5 sons, 2 from Devayani and 3 from Shrimadbhagavatam. From his 5 sons, namely Yadu, Turvasu, Drukyu, Anu, and Puru, 5 famous dynasties, namely the Yadu dynasty, the Yavana Turk dynasty, the Bhoja dynasty, the Mlecha dynasty, Greek, and the Paurava dynasty, all emanated to spread all over the world. He reached the heavenly planets by dint of his pious acts, but he fell down from there because of his self-advertisement and criticizing other great souls. After his fall, his granddaughter and grandson bestowed upon him their accumulated virtues, and by the help of his grandson and friend Sibi, he was again promoted to the heavenly kingdom, becoming one of the assembly members of Yamaraj, with whom he is staying as a devotee. He performed more than 1,000 different sacrifices, gave in charity very liberally, and was a very influential king. His majestic power was felt all over the world. His youngest son agreed to award him his youthfulness when he was troubled with lustful desires, even for 1,000 years. Finally, he became detached from worldly life and returned the youthfulness again to his son, Puru. He wanted to hand over the kingdom to Puru, but his noblemen and the subjects did not agree. But when he explained to his subjects the greatness of Puru, they agreed to accept Puru as the king, and thus Emperor Yayati retired from family life and left home for the forests. Translation: this child will be almost as good as Lord Krishna. By following in his footsteps in magnanimity, he will become as great as King Rantidev, and in religion, he will be like Maharaj Yayati. Om Ajnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshuram Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Hare Krishna. So today we are assembled here to discuss from Shrimadbhagavatam, from this chapter entitled Birth of Emperor Parikshit. This spotless scripture, Shrimadbhagavatam, by constantly reading Shrimadbhagavatam and hearing, our consciousness evolves very rapidly. And we can understand the goal of human life. Sometimes members of society, they criticize organizations such as ISKCON, and their charge is that we are taking all the young men away from society and thereby depriving society of their services by which society could be happy and advance even more. However, Bhagavad Gita, Krishna tells Arjuna, renunciate is not one who lights no fire or does no work. So those young boys and girls that ISKCON and other similar organizations are taking away, they are actually working even harder than materialistic people. We know from our own experience at one point we were also completely in the darkness of ignorance. And on weekends we like to sleep until 12 noon or 1 p.m. So many millions all over the world are doing that. So for those people who criticize, we ask, how is sleeping until 12 p.m. or 1 p.m. in the prime of life actually going to benefit society? For these people who dedicate their lives to propagating the message of Shrimadbhagavatam, they are actually helping society. Because real happiness can only be found when we connect with Krishna and his devotees, and when we take shelter of great saintly personalities. So how do we take shelter? We must first understand that we are insignificant living entities. As ever, as I was preparing for this class, my usual source is YouTube. And the last few days I have been so busy, mostly here at the temple. I haven't had much chance to prepare, so frantically I was looking for something, and then this YouTube Shorts video came up. Prem Prayojan Prabhu, he was saying something, and it had the word worthlessness. So I clicked on that. And that he was describing a meeting between Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur and his spiritual master, Srila Gaur Kishore Das Babaji Maharaj. I need to go back and somehow find that entire lecture. This is just a YouTube Shorts video. But in that he was saying that one time Srila Saraswati Thakur, he went to meet his spiritual master, looking for the dust of his lotus feet. So actually Gaur Kishore Das Babaji Maharaj, you know what he did? He picked up some dust, rubbed it against his foot, and sprinkled it on the head of Srila Saraswati Thakur. And Srila Saraswati Thakur, he said, as soon as the dust touched his head, at that very moment, he felt he was just one among millions and billions of living entities floating in this ocean of material existence. He said, the moment that dust touched my forehead, I felt my complete and utter worthlessness. And this is Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. No ordinary person. An Acharya, but no ordinary Acharya. He descended from the spiritual world. His father, Srila Bhakti Vinod Thakur, he prayed to the Lord, please send me someone from your own camp to help propagate the mission of Lord Chaitanya. Shortly after that, prayer was offered. Srila Saraswati Thakur appeared in this world. This is a person that descended from the spiritual world. He is a Manjari, eternal associate of Srimati Radharani in the spiritual world. And he is saying this, such a great Acharya. He is saying, as soon as the dust of my spiritual master touched my forehead, I felt my utter worthlessness. So what to speak of all of us assembled here in this temple room? So unless we understand our complete insignificance, we cannot take shelter. So long as we think we are the Lord and Masters and enjoyers, we can never surrender to Krishna. Ishvaro ham aham bhogi siddho ham balaman sukhi. Krishna speaks these words in the Shrimadbhagavatam to Arjuna, and he says, those who have a demoniac mentality, they think like this, that I am the Lord, I am the enjoyer, I am perfect, I am powerful, and I am happy. It's completely separated from the mercy of the Lord under the modes of material nature's influence. One thinks like this. And so long as one thinks, I am the master, I am the enjoyer, and I am perfect, there will be no impetus to take shelter. When we understand, I am helpless, I am completely dependent upon the mercy of Krishna, only then can we take shelter. So we must take shelter of the higher intelligence. Now in the Bhagavad Gita it is explained that the senses are inferior to the mind, but superior to the mind is intelligence. So if the senses, our senses, come under the dictates of the mind, then we will simply find ourselves immersed in the darkness of ignorance. But when the mind comes under the dictates of the intelligence, then we make proper decisions. So what does it mean to take shelter of higher intelligence? It's very simple. As I was driving back from work on Thursday, I played a tape of my Guru Maharaj's lecture. Srila Radhanath Swami Maharaj is saying, higher intelligence means simply accepting the instructions of Guru, Sadhu and Shastra. It's all it takes. We have Shrimadbhagavatam here. This is non-different than Lord Krishna. And Shrimadbhagavatam is giving us the most perfect instructions. We simply need to accept those instructions, practice it carefully, then we will have Krishna's complete shelter upon us. In this world, we must be very careful in how we conduct ourselves, because Maya, she presents so many allurements. And sometimes our enemies can appear in the guise of a friend. And who are our real enemies? Our enemies are not outside, in the outside world. Our enemies are hidden within us. The enemy of lust, anger, greed, illusion, madness. So sometimes these enemies will present themselves as friends. And Shrimadbhagavatam describes so many beautiful pastimes of the Lord just to illustrate these principles. So in the spiritual world, ordinarily in the mornings and the evenings, Krishna is with his parents, Nanda Maharaj and Mother Yashoda. In the night time, he meets the gopis. And in the daytime, he is with his Gopa friends, the cowherd boys. And throughout the day, they take the cows and the calves out into the pastures. And they play wonderful games throughout the day. Different types of games. Sometimes they play just a simple game, running. They see Krishna in the distance and they all run to see who can touch Krishna first. And then a Gopa boy, he races ahead and he touches Krishna first and he thinks, I have touched Krishna, I have won. But another Gopa boy who was also running to touch Krishna first, he sees he actually touched Krishna first, so he won. Yet another Gopa boy, he's thinking, no, I touched him first before any of you. In this way, every boy has actually touched Krishna first. Everyone's victorious. But everyone is doing that with only one purpose. When they play these games, all these boys are playing these games with only one purpose: to please their dear friend, Krishna. So when we were young, we also played many games. And do you remember how those games usually ended? It ended in fights. Yes? In tears and fights. Because every boy wants to win, even at the cost of someone else. So my Guru Maharaj was saying, when they play these cricket matches, or for those who are not familiar with cricket, baseball or NBA, which just recently had Super Bowl. So when one team wins, millions of people are jubilant. But the supporters of the opponent, the losing team, millions of them are just plunged in grief. Yes. So one team wants to win at the cost of the happiness of another team. That is the nature of this world. So when we played games, we never thought, if I lose, I'm feeling so bad about it. But this is what will happen if I were to win to all the other boys. How are they going to feel? They're going to feel miserable. Yet, we want to win. Even if it means sadness for so many others. Usually our games always ended like that because we thought we won, but we were denied victory. So it usually ended in a fight. But when Krishna's friends play these games, they are not so concerned about winning or losing. They are only concerned about one thing. Is Krishna happy? Is he pleased? Atha pumbi dvija shrestha varnashrama vibhagasah swanushthitasya dharmasya samsiddhir haritoshana. Whatever activities we may be engaged in through the course of our life, they find their perfection when Krishna, Lord Hari, is pleased. And what is Lord Krishna thinking? When he is playing these games, he is thinking, how can I please my friends? So his friends are only interested in pleasing him. He is only interested in pleasing his friends. So in such a mood where everyone is only concerned about the other's pleasure, they find the greatest satisfaction. So sometimes Krishna loses. They play wrestling games. Sometimes Krishna wins, sometimes he loses, which is pretty astonishing. Because all it took Krishna was his little finger to lift this gigantic hill, Govardhan hill. How is it that he loses in wrestling games? To give pleasure to his friends. And if winning means to give pleasure to his friends, he would win. Because some of his friends wanted to see him win. So then he would win. In this way they played beautiful games throughout the day. So one time, a demon, he wanted to kill Krishna. So he came and he disguised himself as a cowherd boy, Vyomasur. He came. And that particular day they were playing a game of police and thieves. So they were divided into 3 groups. One group was police, and one group was thieves, and the third group, they were all sheep. So the role of the thieves was to get the sheep. So how they played was, if you were a thief and he was a sheep, if you just tagged him, then he was out. You had to sit out the rest of the game. So this demon, he appeared just like a cowherd boy. Nobody could tell that he was actually a demon in disguise. They took him to be a friend. And he joined the group of thieves. So their job was to go look for the sheep and tag them. This demon was not interested in tagging. He wanted to capture all these boys and eventually go after Krishna. So anytime he found a sheep, he actually captured that Gopa boy and imprisoned him in a dark cave. In this way, he captured many of these boys. And he imprisoned all of them in that dark cave and closed the cave with a big rock. Maharaj was explaining, my Guru Maharaj was explaining that that cave is still there in Vrindavan. You can go visit it. I haven't been there. I don't know if any of you visited. Maybe Mataji has been there. You have. So it is about a half an hour walk from Kamwan. There's 12 forests of Vrindavan. It's just a half hour walk from one of those forests. Then eventually Krishna understood what was going on. Now he is the police. Krishna was in the group of police. So his job in the game was to go after the thief. So he zeroed in on this particular demon. And the demon understood right away his game was up. He knew about Krishna's powers. And when Krishna was coming after him, he knew. So now what he did, as soon as Krishna accosted him, he revealed his true form and expanded in size like a mountain. Now why is this pastime described in Shrimadbhagavatam? It is actually very similar to what happens in our own lives. As long as we are following the dictates of the mind has no objection. It is what it is. But as soon as we make the decision, this is not the kind of life I want to lead. I want to lead a life that is filled with purpose and meaning. What happens? Can you recall? I recall. Just like that demon who expanded into the size of a mountain, the mind expands, giving us so many reasons and justifications for not going down that path. Yes? Such a struggle in the mind when we decide, I'm going to take shelter of the holy names of Krishna, I'm going to take shelter in the association of devotees, when we first made that decision, how the mind reacted. So many challenges, justifications why we should not do that. But for Krishna, how difficult it is to kill a demon the size of a mountain. He killed Putana when he was just days old. So Krishna easily picked up this demon, smashed him into the ground and killed him. And then he released off all of his friends from that cave. So if we take shelter constantly of Krishna, then whatever the mind presents, even if it's like a mountain, Krishna can easily shatter it. So how do we take shelter constantly? Kirtaniya Sadhari. By constantly taking shelter of Krishna's holy names, we can take shelter. We must always seek the shelter of a bona fide spiritual master, carefully follow his instructions, and then we must take shelter of the association of devotees, saintly personalities. Then we can make quick progress. So in this, that is actually the introduction to today's class, to today's verse, but I have to go someplace, so today's class will be a little short. But I remember one lecture that my esteemed god brother Gauranga Prabhu gave. And he actually gave a 3-point formula on how to tackle, how to get rid of false ego, which is the root cause of most problems in the world today. So I will just mention those, but in another class perhaps we can discuss at length. He mentioned 3 things. Name Ruchi, to develop a taste for the holy names of Krishna, to hear and to chant. Jeev Daya, to be compassionate to all living entities. And Vaishnav Seva, to be engaged in service to Vaishnavas. It is a most potent form of worshipping the Lord, is to actually worship and serve his devotees. This was confirmed by Lord Shiva himself. Aradhanam sarvesham Vishnor aradhanam param tasmat paratram devi tadiyanam samarchanam. That of all the kinds of worship, the topmost is worship of Lord Vishnu, the personality of Godhead. But even superior to worshipping Lord Vishnu is to worship the devotees of Lord Vishnu. So that is the power of serving Vaishnavas. In this scripture, Shrimadbhagavatam, there are so many such descriptions of how people attain perfection simply by engaging in service to the Lord and his devotees. So today's verse, there is mention about Maharaj Rantidev and Maharaj Yayati. Actually, elsewhere in Shrimadbhagavatam, there is detailed description of Maharaj Rantidev and how he engaged in service to the subjects of his kingdom. There are detailed descriptions on how he was tested by higher powers. And Maharaj Rantidev, he never wavered from his path. So there are such beautiful descriptions of this great saintly personality in Shrimadbhagavatam. By reading about this, by hearing about this, Srila Prabhupada makes a very important point in Shrimadbhagavatam about how we can associate with the Lord. It does not have to be physical association. Srila Prabhupada writes that we can associate with the Lord simply by following His instructions. And this is a very important point. Why? Because we have heard time and time again, you are who you associate with. Sometimes this mind has the tendency to find faults. If we are honest with ourselves, we can recall our own experiences. And what happens when we constantly focus on other people's faults? Because you are who you associate with, if you're constantly associating with the faults of other people, very soon we begin to acquire those very same faults. That's why Vaishnavas are adoshadarshi. They simply are not interested in the faults of other people. Imagine for a moment if our spiritual masters, if Srila Prabhupada had been focused on our faults, what would have happened to us? We would have no hope for a better future. But these great souls, they only saw the spark, a little spark of goodness in people, and they fanned that spark until it became such a blazing fire that it consumed all of their other faults. So that is our goal. We want to see what is good in people and try to encourage that good, so it becomes a blazing fire that can eliminate all of their faults in due course of time. Adoshadarshi, to only be interested in the good qualities in people and not so much their faults. So Shrimadbhagavatam, Srimad Bhagavad Gita teaches us to develop that consciousness, that vision, by which we not only can we make progress, but we can help others around us also make quick progress. So with that, I would like to conclude today's class. I thank you for your kind attention. And if there are any questions or comments or realizations, please.
I have a question.
Go ahead.
It may be stupid, but if you don't know the answer, it's not really stupid. So, why does Krishna create all the demons? Why? I mean, if he's creating everything, why does he create the demons to fight? What's the purpose of that? Is it just to create a pastime so that we can relate? Is that?
See, the question is not stupid, but I feel stupid because I don't know what to say.
I'm sorry. I'll give you time. You don't have to answer me today. How about that?
No, there may be, I think there may be many reasons, but Mataji, do you have anything to add, Mataji? Your realization, your knowledge are far superior.
You go first, Malay.
I'm sorry.
From what I think it's many reasons. Krishna, when the Lord does something, it's not usually one reason. There's many reasons.
Okay.
One reason is for pastimes.
Okay.
Yes. Other reason is to fulfill the desires of those people who are inimical to Krishna.
Okay.
Yes. Krishna, out of his kindness, fulfills everybody's desires,
Whether they're good or bad.
whether they are good or bad. So that is another reason. Can anybody add any more reasons? Ajay, Jalini, or Karnas?
One point I remember, Prabhu, as we know, the four Kumaras, Brahma Kumaras, when they were obstructed entry into Vaikuntha planets by Jay and Vijaya, then Lord has, they cursed Jay and Vijaya to be born as demons for 3 lifetimes or devotees for 7 lifetimes. As they don't want to be separated from long time, so they just to birth as demons. And God also has planned, He also wants to fight every devotees because these dear devotees, He wanted to have that chivalrous rasa among them. So that might also be a reason in creating demons. Because we see how powerful they are, like Hiranyaksha and Kashipu. So I got that point.
Very nice. So is it safe to say there are multiple reasons?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
Everything in the spiritual world is pure, too. And so we see that there's jealousy, there's all these competitions. They're in the very purest of form. And it's always to please Krishna and never to be critical of each other. But in the material world, because we are material nature, these different faults or things that come into play, they're done in a contaminated way, right?
Mm-hmm.
So they cause today's demons.
Right.
Isn't another way. Yes, we have the ferocious demons and stuff from past times and stuff, but if we look at the world today, we see that the false ego is there, and through that we have, lust and
Right.
So many stuff, which are the current demons and stuff, but it's because of this material contamination. So Krishna, these things exist. Nothing exists here that doesn't exist back there, but it's contaminated down here and stuff. So just modern demons. But this is Krishna's play, how to purify ourselves in order to go back to Him.
Okay.
And how He helps us too. Like Roman was saying, we get the taste of the holy name, we serve the devotees, and we take shelter of spiritual master, all these things. As we have the ability to acquire and learn about these things, then we can fight these demons. So Krishna's enjoying us fighting these demons.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Coming back to Him.
All right. All right. Okay. Thank you.
Different version of demons.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that.
Yes, one of the mellows, rasa, is a chivalrous rasa. There are devotees who, on that particular mellow, they like to fight. Like Grandsire Bhishma, he's actually a Mahabhagavat. He's one of the Mahajans, isn't he?
Yes.
Grandsire Bhishma is one of the Mahajans. There are only 12 Mahajans. He's one of them. A pure devotee of Krishna, but his mellow, his rasa was chivalrous. So Krishna engaged him in fighting. So when Krishna wants to fight, He's not going to choose one of us because we would not even last seconds.
Okay.
So he'll choose some of the greatest warriors that have ever lived, so they can give him a good fight.
Right.
So he fights. Grandsire Bhishma, he fought Jambavan, who is also a very great devotee of the Lord. So to fulfill their desires also. But these people were not demons, they were pure devotees.
I just think it's so cool that even after he fights them, he liberates them. So I find that so comforting somehow. I don't know why, but if a demon can be liberated, I think maybe I have hope.
Actually, we understand, the demons are also getting liberation, but simply just fighting against Lord or 500 demons. So that, what kind of liberation they attain is little different one. What devotees aspire for, devotees aspire for devotional service. So the demons who are just revolting against the Lord, they are only getting liberation. What to speak of devotees who are always engaging in devotional service? They are getting more than the liberation, eternal service liberation.
Nice.
See, the Shrimadbhagavatam, it has so much nectar. And when you sit on the Vyasasana planning to finish class quickly, you just can't do it. Because now I have to say something else now.
I'm sorry. I know you said you had to get away, but...
See, my godbrother, Govind Prabhu, from Chowpatty, he once, in one class, he made such a beautiful point. He was talking about Maricha, I think Maricha, Lord Ravana's uncle. So he, at one point, became convinced that it was not possible to defeat Lord Ramachandra. He understood that. But if he failed to follow the instruction of Ravana, Ravana was going to kill him. Because he wanted, his instruction was to go and fight and kill Lord Ram. So he fought and he was killed at the hands of Lord Ram. But Govind Prabhu was saying, Maricha could have actually joined Lord Ram and fought Ravana. Perhaps he would still be killed because Ravana was very powerful. But rather than be killed by Krishna, if you can fight for Krishna and be killed, that is much more glorious. He would have probably attained the highest destination. Rather than fighting against the Lord and being killed by him, die fighting for him. So, a prime example of this is Jatayu. So when he kidnapped Mother Sita, and he was, when Ravana kidnapped Mother Sita and he was taking her away, Jatayu was already old by then. He knew he was going to die if he fought Ravana. Because in his youth, Jatayu was extremely powerful. He could have fought anybody. But this was his senior years, he was old already. And Ravana was in the prime of life, very powerful. But Jatayu knew he would not win. But yet he could not stand by and watch.
Right.
He engaged in battle. And he was severely wounded. So then Ravana left taking Mother Sita. And then shortly after that, Lord Ram and Lakshman, they were looking frantically everywhere and they came upon this wounded personality, Jatayu. And Jatayu narrated to Lord Ram what had happened. And Lord Ram said, taking him on his own lap, Jatayu's head on his own lap, he said, on this very day, I send you to the spiritual world. So he died fighting for Lord Ram. So when demons fight against Krishna, they get killed, as A.J. Jalini was saying. They get a certain type of liberation. But one fights for Krishna, even if he dies in the process of fighting, the result is all auspicious because he has died in service to the Lord. So this is what we learn from these beautiful pastimes. Thank you for asking that question that brought about such a wonderful
Thank you so much.
I remember one point, while hearing one lecture, that same discussion, why it was why the creation of material world is happening and what is the need of it. So it's at all we have all good, all auspiciousness. We don't know that value. If we go away from that only, then we got to know that value of goodness, that good nature. And, even the spiritual world, when we are in the spiritual world, we may have thinking something else, so we just got called down here. And we got to know, when we realize we got to know the importance of spiritual world, and we want to attain that spiritual world and we want to get back to our thing. So that might also be very
I appreciate that.
Does that answer your question?
Well, it's been bugging me for a while. It's like, I don't really see the point, But now I do. I see several points.
Antaraj Shrimadbhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai.